daybreak on the Rise News, and it's time for the press preview. A first look at what's on the front pages as they arrive. We'll begin with this day newspaper. Leading with President Buhari. In a dramatic move, Buhari orders Buni'S removal as Malami SGF urge caution. Right as to that story, President says party has capacity to resolve challenges. Declares when I'm away, Osibanjo is in charge. Sani Bello is new caretaker chair. Holds meeting today. Well, a leading picture in front of this day newspaper. Caption, checking out to London for medicals, shows President Muhammadu Buhari and other officials as he departed Abuja for London yesterday. Nigerian students in Ukraine cry for help, demand safe exit from war-torn country. More headlines here on this day newspaper. Arise TV's own Johnson Malami defeats Mo Abuju, Ajoke Silva and others to win International Women's Day Award.
The Nation newspaper. APC zoning panel submits report amid disagreement. CBN's Naira dollar policy is not working, and that's according to a presidential advisor, Bismarck Orani. Report businesses got 24.57 trillion naira loans from banks in 2021. 1.5 million flee Ukraine to escape Russia bombings. And Oshu 2023, PDP balls over primaries delegates list.
All right, let's look at what Punch is saying. The headline, World Bank project, 4 trillion naira 2022 field subsidy. Experts predict more loans with free riders. Nigeria could spend 360 billion naira monthly on subsidy, says World Bank. FG, that is the federal government, will borrow more to finance rising fuel subsidy payments. That's from experts. And NNPC releases additional 381.8 million litres of fuel queues lesson. That's interesting. And then just on the top mast there in the middle, implement 2009 agreement, fund our short varsities. This is from ASU. Find that on page, I think that's page 2. The story on World Bank is on page 23 and 32. And of course, the picture there, I can't see this clearly, but there's a picture of a small boy. I guess it has to do with the war in Ukraine. That's it for the Punch. Let's go to the next paper.
Some international papers now. The Guardian UK. Plea for safe passage after second ceasefire disaster. Leading photo here on the front of the Guardian UK. People fleeing from the city of Irpin, northwest of Kiev, as more shelling in that area yesterday.
And an update to that story in The Guardian. The Russian military will hold an open humanitarian corridor in several Ukrainian cities, including the capital Kiev, at 8 o'clock at 7 GMT. That's in about 27 minutes. That's according to the Interfax news agency. It's citing the Russian Defense Ministry, so we're expecting a ceasefire at 8 o'clock.
All right, just a bit back to the Punch. That picture actually is a wedding at the Ukrainian border between two people. You can see that case there. Interesting. While war is going on, of course, people are wedding. Let's deal with Financial Times. West weighs banning Russia oil as Moscow steps up Ukraine onslaught. We just read that a while ago. With a rider, 3 actually. U.S. discussions with Europe. White House policy U-turn. Mariupol evacuation fails again, and Odessa expects attack. That's what President Zelensky said a while ago. All right. That's it on Financial Times. For
the press preview, let's bring in Emmanuel Bello, who joins us in our offsite studio this morning. Emmanuel, good morning. Good to have you. Let's begin with the headline on the front of this day newspaper. As usual, President Muhammadu Buhari is out of the country, and he has said his government is still running. His vice president with the secretary of the government and also the chief of staff. However, it's not clear if he sent in a letter to the National Assembly, a written letter as required by Section 145 of the Constitution, or as he did in 2018. There are all that news about President Buhari before he left. He ordered Buni'S removal. And also there's a row in the APC surrounding this caretaker chair and zoning formula as well. Emmanuel, what are your thoughts?
Well, the dramatic, another dramatic thing is that it looks as if this day is the only one with this story. You don't see this story anywhere, and so that makes it very, very important. I think the remaining part of today, editors will be scampering the newsroom to get other angles or developments to this breaking story, because Buni removal as caretaker chairman is huge development for the party. What could this mean? How is the APC going to ramp up its base and get ready for the Congress? So this is a huge story. It's bound to excite not just APC, APC people, but of course the PDP and the rest of the country too, because developments in the APC spells to a larger extent what is happening in the larger country. It's the ruling party, and so when the caretaker, they're all strong caretaker, Governor Buni, who actually carved a niche for himself as someone that was reconciling all sorts of people to the party. But we can't forget his pictures alongside all sorts of great politicians, taking them to the president. With some people even saying that if Buni shows up on your doorstep, it signals that you are going into the APC. To hear that just last night or yesterday he was removed in that kind of dramatic fashion, it's not such a small story, and you can understand why these days is leading with it, almost like an exclusive. Those aspects of those stories are on the social media, but as a newspaper, I think this is the only paper that is carrying it with all the weight behind that story. What's going to happen now? The sole administrator that is being appointed, how is he going to go about it? Buni is not a pushover, the reason why the story is also saying that Malami and the SGF were actually practically cautioning the president to be careful how he makes his move on Buni, and that even it has to follow some kind of procedure to remove him. So if this happens, it's tectonic shifts in the way APC is doing its business, and like I said, today is going to be filled with all sorts of meetings and all sorts of consideration, especially around the issue of the Buni sack, the alleged Buni sack. If it's indeed that's what happened, it's a big story and a big politics day today over this matter.
Well, Emmanuel, I'm worried about the country still. The president's jetting out. We still do not have a hospital, a medical center in the country that can take care of the president. What does that say about Nigeria in 2022?
It says a lot about the president. It says a lot about Nigeria. It says a lot about the sad situation we find ourselves, that the president still seeks medical, care outside the shores of this country. And now at the airports, he wasn't asked that, but he was asked about the vacuum of power, and he said that, well, look, my government is still running. You've got the vice president there, you've got the SGF, and you got, maybe he has got his lieutenants who are running the country, but people are bound to ask this same question, Kenneth. You're asking that once again, the president is jetting out in the midst of all the crises that we're dealing with, the crisis of petroleum, the uncertainties around the whole world over the Russian-Ukrainian crisis. It's not the kind of time that you think a president should be jetting out of his country, but then we're starting with this president who has to go out from time to time to go check himself medically. These are issues that's been dealt with in the past, but of course there's no closure to them. The image is not always sinking in beautifully well to see this president always going out to seek some medical help. The other day he jetted out to Kenya and then he returned. There were talks that he was going to go for those medical checkups, but then he came back dramatically again, only for us to see him leaving yesterday. He leaves a lingering feeling, and although he said that there's no vacuum of power, people are actually left with the sort of questions that we're asking now. What has happened to our medical facilities? Why can't we have, how many times do we see presidents around the world jetting out to the UK for medical attention? Incidentally, the APC chairman too that he sacked is said to have gone somewhere to Dubai for medical checkup. So you see this whole incidences of people in power always checking out of the country to go check themselves. totally shows that they are completely, rejection of our own medical facilities here, or they have no faith in it, and leaving the rest of us to actually deal with the crisis of, medical care that you can't find here. So it leaves a very bad feeling in the mouth to see this kind of imagery and these stories coming, even this dying moment that you think you will need the president of a country at home to deal with not just the internal crisis, but happenings around the world.
Okay, well, let's look at the Punch talking about the World Bank. World Bank is projecting that Nigeria will spend 4 trillion in 2022. Fuel will spend on fuel subsidy, 4 trillion. Experts are predicting more loans as well. And then FG will have to borrow to finance rising fuel subsidy payments. This is experts talking. In the light of what is happening with fuel, I'm learning that the queues are lessening. NNPC releases additional 381.8 million liters of fuel. Queues are lessening. What does this signify? What's the significance of what World Bank is saying and what the experts are saying?
Well, it goes to all the reporting that we've been seeing here, especially this day. Emmanuel Adekel continuously talk about those things in his reports, especially in the oil sectors. That even crude oil prices are rising around the world, and we're supposed to actually gain from those. But the story you have here is, we're spending more on subsidy, with even the projection that we'll be borrowing or asking for more money. Taking more loans. This totally just shows the direction of the economy, and World Bank painting a rather very foggy forecast for the economy. Shows also the inability or the lack of leadership or the lack of control or the lack of expertise in the area of managing what we have. Those are the sort of stories we've been seeing around the issue of the NNPC and what it can do and what it cannot do, especially the crisis of the fact that we can't actually meet even global demand. That should be worrisome. In another report, oil prices are getting better around the world. The president was really happy about it the other day, but of course, when you look at the reporting that Emmanuel Ade has been making, we can't actually even meet the global demands that we could benefit from. So we're not really gaining from the boom, the oil boom that's been occasioned by the Russian-Ukrainian crisis. That should worry the policymaker, that should worry any right-thinking government to say, look, we're not even gaining from what the rest of the oil-producing countries are gaining, and those are the crises. Rather, what we're seeing here is projections like this, that we're spending too much on subsidy at the time that a lot of experts say these subsidies are not really helping anyone. They are a drain, serious drain on the economy. It's a bad projection, it's a terrible projection, and it's about time that those who care about this country should worry more about this kind of projections.
Emmanuel, quickly before we let you go, all the international papers are leading with Russia and Ukraine. Western allies, the US, they're all imposing unprecedented sanctions on Ukraine, Russian banks, Russian businesses, in a bid to choke off the Russian economy and also pressure Moscow to quit the assault on Ukraine. Now, payment giant American Express, MasterCard, Visa are stopping their systems in Russia, and this is making Russia to move on to UnionPay, China's UnionPay. What are your thoughts on these sanctions that's making Russia entwined with China now?
Well, and that is the the worrisome development that's going on. It's like, the world is pushing Russia to China, and with that, the experts are saying that maybe Russia is not even feeling the impact of these sanctions. It's got China to fall back on, and the West is doing its best. The President Biden is actually thinking of stopping the purchase of Russian oil altogether. That is a lot of people believe that would be a serious sanction if you don't buy their oil, with all sorts of experts saying that right now the Russian government is actually also gaining from the American economy, is getting money to run this battle. So, but if you stop buying their oil, it's saying that. So this is an effort by the West, by those allies, to see if they can push Russia to a point where it begins to feel the pinch, feel the bite. But it's like Russia has got a life valve or a life line somewhere else that is keeping it afloat. So what they need to do is check all all the areas to see how much these sanctions can bite. But now, where the story is turning to the human angle crisis in Ukraine, where that picture in the Punch newspaper, where we saw soldiers getting married, tells you the undying hope and the undying spirit of the Ukrainians as they fight, or even as the Russians continue to push further into those capitals. So those are the kind of stories we're monitoring and seeing. The sanctions not maybe having the kind of effect or the kind of bite they should have. And until the Russian people turn against their government, it will be difficult to know whether these things are really biting on the Russian economy. But then the Ukrainian spirit is there, exemplified by this picture in the front page of the Punch. A wedding taking place, even in the midst of this crisis, tells you something about the.
We hope their love lasts beyond the war. Thank you, Emmanuel.